I want to read a few pages out of this book. It's called Out of the Iron Furnace by Eliezer Ben David. And it is about basically the majority of it's talking about the Exodus in Egypt and the plagues and how it came about, how bondage came about, the sins that were in Egypt and that kind of stuff. But what I want to focus on right now is basically Nimrod I, and the Tower of Babel and Babylon. And then later on, I want to come back to other chapters in this book because this talks about our first Exodus. It talks about Nimrod I and talks about the first Babylon. And in Revelation, there is a second Babylon. Well, the end Babylon. There is going to be another Nimrod II, who some people will say is the AC. There were plagues in Egypt. There was a destroyer in Egypt. There are plagues in the end, and a destroyer in the end. So I want to just read a few pages. I'm going to start on page 44. Now, I might start on a different page. Let's start here. The door Haflaga, and it's called the generation of the division. One of the most extraordinary events in the history of mankind is the building of the Tower of Babel and its cataclysmic aftermath. Almost no aspect of our lives today, from the simplest daily communication to the most esoteric linguistic analysis, is untouched by the unique circumstances surrounding the generation of the division. Before we examine in detail the specific transgressions of the Dor Haflaga, let us remind ourselves of the proper attitude toward our ancestors in antiquity. Let us remember that we are not dealing with Neanderthal man, nor with any mythic caveman whose only feelings are barbaric and primitive in nature. The Torah rejects such an outlook and recognizes in early man a potentially noble and incredibly intelligent progenitor. Keeping in mind this all-important proviso about early man, we may proceed to examine the strange story of the Tower of Babel. Careful attention to the words of the Torah uses in describing their history reveals to us the inner plans of the leaders of that fateful generation. They found a plain, and they dwelt there. The word Beka, plain, is associated with the word Bakaya, which means fission or total disintegration. The Zohar notes that the word found is a strange one in relation to the discovery of a plain. The more appropriate word would have been they spied. Therefore, the Zohar asserts this refers to the rediscovery of an ancient and lost knowledge. What was this extraordinary wisdom that they discovered, which gave them visions of grandeur, of conquering the heavens, and absolute invincibility? Does it not seem possible that the Dor HaFlaga stumbled upon the long hidden secret of the atom? What then is the science of the Bacchia fission, if not the power to split the atom? Let us read a bit further in their plan for an assault on the heavens. Come, let us make brick and burn them thoroughly. And they had brick for stone, and slime they had for mortar. Their machinations came in two stages. Let us make bricks. In other words, let us utilize our newfound power to invent and fashion new materials that will be able to withstand the unheard of rigors to which we will put them. Let us develop the power of fire. We already know that fire's natural tendency is to rise, and we shall need only to channel it to our desired use. Rabbi Jonathan Ivanschutz, the early 18th century sage, described the Tower of Babel as a giant spaceship with a tremendous fire pushing down so that the tower would rise to the heavens. Surely the Dor HaFlaga had achieved great advances in science and technology, perhaps even stumbling upon the secret of nuclear energy. What did they wish to accomplish with all their efforts? They said to each other, "Let us make a name." The Talmud, Sanhedrin 109a, explains this to mean that they wish to avoid the necessity of godliness by piercing the secrets of the universe. They wish to conquer the heavens by plucking out the mystery of the cosmos. Thus, the sin of the Dor HaFlaga was not related to specific desires or temptations, as were those of the generation of the flood, but went to the very heart of man's existence and purpose on earth. What is man's relationship with his Creator and with the knowledge he allows his creatures to gain? The misdeeds of the Dor HaFlaga are intimately related to many of the problems scientists and philosophers are attempting to solve today. Science and knowledge in the nuclear age. Since Einstein's theories showed their terrifying pragmatic applications with the development of the atomic bomb, the scientific community has been busily reassessing its moral and social obligations. For the first time, treatises and informal memoirs by scientists have appeared questioning the absolute right of science to blindly pursue all avenues of knowledge without regard for the consequences to mankind. The generation of the division, too, stumbled upon the vast riches of nuclear science. What did they do with their new found knowledge? The Torah relates to us the aspirations of the Dor HaFlaga. Come, let us build a city and a tower with its tops in heaven, and let us make us a name, lest we be scattered abroad upon the face of the whole earth. The Midrash elaborates upon their inner purpose. And it came to pass, as they journeyed from the east, Rabbi Lazar ben Rabbi Simeon interpreted, they betook themselves away from the ancient of the world, saying, we refuse to accept either him or his divinity. And let us make a name. The school of Rabbi Ishmael taught Shem, a name means nothing else but an idol. I want to go back to this. So, they wanted to take themselves away from the ancient of the world, the sovereign, his sovereignty. And Amalek means no king. And no kings has been pushed a lot this past couple years. Anyway, the idolatry of science. I think I'm going to stop here